Okay, movie night, movie night. Which movie are we gonna watch? I got so many Christopher Nolan movies here. Which one should we watch?
How about Tenet?
Oh, that one. Okay, let's give it a shot. Sometimes I watch a movie and I love it. Other times, not so much. Then I talk about it with somebody I may or may not be related to, and they don't agree. That's where Movie Advocate comes in. We take a movie we either love or hate and try to convince the other person that they're wrong. And the best part is I win every time because we're talking about movies. Okay, let's go! Hello! Welcome to Movie Advocate. Today we're going to talk about Tenet.
Either way.
It goes both ways. Tenet is
All I have for you is a word.
Tenet.
2020 film by Christopher Nolan. That's the year I'm going to go with. I think that's correct. And I got to tell you, the basis for this show, Movie Advocate, you're watching the pilot, is that I didn't love it. I got to tell you, I didn't love it. Generally, I like Christopher Nolan movies. This one, definitely not my favorite. But today, my guest, Morgan, is going to try and turn me around as he advocates for Tenet. Morgan?
So I love this movie mainly because I feel like it's a person that likes going to movies kind of movie. And so if you like cinematography, if you like complexity of problem solving, if you like dialogue, sometimes you can't hear it. I know that's a part. If you like those sort of things, then it gives it to you. And I guess one of the problems that I know a lot of people have is it probably doesn't give it to you on the first take. And so if it doesn't give it to you on the first take, it's easy to go, well, what was that? And so as I dove into it more, I just remember the first time I saw it, I was very much two things. One was, what was that? Right? What was that really about? What was that trying to accomplish? And two was, that was a really cool idea. And so right now in movies, right, we get all these, 4 or 5, just repeat, same old kind of plot, same old kind of stuff. This was a really interesting idea. I say that, my wife calls it Back to the Future, right? Isn't that the same plot? They go back in the future? And no is what I'd say to that. It's more complex than that. But the movie's not about time travel. The movie's not about, the movie has this big, broad stroke of the earth and humanity and physics and what we can do now to help our future. So I loved all those strokes, which I would say after the first watching of the movie, I felt them. I knew they were there. I knew they were, present, and just wanted to enjoy them again. And, to me, a movie is really good when you're just flipping through channels and, Back to the Future comes on, or Ghostbusters comes on, or Blues Brothers comes on. I just want to watch it.
You stop for a minute and then you get sucked in.
I want to watch it again and see what was going on.
And this movie does that for you.
This movie totally does that for me because I saw the glimpses of it. I saw phrases like, don't try to understand it, just feel it. Which apparently, as you kind of do more things with Nolan, that was almost what he told execs, who, Nolan obviously has a rep. He does lots of stuff with time. He does lots of stuff with complexity. And, he's showing whatever he's trying to show to pitch this movie. And that phrase, don't try to understand it, just feel it. Mm-hmm. I guess I really connected with that. There's a lot of feeling with that. And to me, just, my background as a math science guy, as an engineer, as, a pilot, all these kind of things that weave into who I am, it pushed those buttons. Like, how does that work? How does that, I wanted to understand that more. All these little mystery traps at the beginning of the movie that were set that by 2/3 of the way through the movie had kind of light bulbs come on, and then a climactic battle at the end, which if you have to encapsulate, what sort of there's so many different levels of themes, but this idea of a temporal pincer movement, people flowing forward and backward through time. And so it's not time travel in terms of you go through a door and then you come out in 1960. you go through a door and then you come out moving backwards in time.
Sure.
And apparently can go back as far as you want and then reverse again and go forward again and reverse. And so, people are always drawing these charts that have, and then this happens, and then they went back here, and then this happens.
There's no classic movie. I take a piece of paper and like I'm going through a wormhole, and like usually you go from here to here on the piece of paper. But if I fold the piece of paper in half and push the pencil through it, you see it in Sphere. I think you see it in Christopher Nolan's other
Interstellar.
Movies are not able to escape context, right? And I want to talk about this movie in the context of Christopher Nolan's other movies. And I was thinking specifically about the war film. What's it called?
Dunkirk.
Yes, I was thinking specifically about Dunkirk, right? And Dunkirk, once again, Christopher Nolan, even though it seems like a very straightforward situation where you're going to adapt a story about a battle in World War II, he still found a way to inject time into it because that's kind of his thing.
Kind of a days, hours, minutes sort of thing.
Even,
flying planes is really fast.
Yeah.
Boats are a little faster.
Yeah.
Being on the ground is really slow.
Even in Batman movies, there's usually a ticking clock, right? Like, we gotta stop the thing from going off and vaporizing the water. We gotta...
The ferry.
The Joker literally has us on a clock on the ferries.
Right.
In the third movie, the bombs are going to explode. We have to get the remote to turn off the bomb before the bomb explodes.
Right.
Time is what he's indicating there.
That's his motif, right, that he likes to work with. First time I saw Dunkirk, I'm sitting there in the theater watching, and there's a moment where the civilians on the boat maybe intersect with Tom Hardy in his plane in the air, and everything kind of links up. And I really connected with that. I got it. I was like, oh, I see what's been going on.
Right. You could draw that straight line on a linear thing, and there it would be.
All of a sudden, I was like, I'm with you now. I think I might have been a little confused until that moment. And like that handshake happened for me in that movie. And I don't think it happened for me in this movie. Like, I didn't experience any, even though I think you could argue that the first time you see them go through the machine, that is that moment in this movie.
So
is that right?
I would say the moment in this movie is the second time at the end when you see Neil with the talisman, the little coin on the bag, right? You see that at the...
Is this the second time at the airport?
No, this is at the end. When he's walking away and he's about to die. It's on his backpack.
Yeah.
And you kind of see, and you sort of knew it, you felt it the whole time through, but he had that same motion at the beginning. Because, here's one of those things, those two things do happen at like the same time. The opera scene at the beginning and the battle scene at the end, if you map it out. And again, this is not for... You don't need to know that, I think, for the average person watching.
I'm not even sure how do you even know that?
Well, watch people that have watched all the things and put together all the clues, but there are clues all the way through. When he's talking to Michael Caine in that scene, talking about the explosion that was 2 weeks ago, that's the explosion that happens at the end. 2 weeks ago was also when the opera scene happened. 2 weeks ago was also when the boat scene happened, when they're in Vietnam on the boat and she jumps off the boat.
So that's sort of a temporal
alignment of
events. All events lead back to, April 5th, 1955, whatever the day.
Whatever the day was. Through which time, a character, we watched him go back and forth. It's at the beginning of the movie, and it seems like a weird thing to do after the protagonist gets brought into the Tenet organization. He basically gets put in a windmill, and when you're watching it, you're like, "This is kind of boring." What's going on? You come to realize that he was sort of in isolation for 5, 10, some amount of time. Where if he was out and not in isolation, he might have messed some things up, because he's got other hymns. If you want to think of it like that, moving around, and the person that is sort of controlling it, which kind of the whole mind-blowing thing of this whole thing is, it's a further on version of him, right? That is the revelation that happens in the final scene when, he is the mastermind of this whole temporal pincer movement.
Right.
Right. When Neil says, "Don't it was you all along? You were the one that put this together." So, in essence, you have to picture this was him at the beginning, and he needed to be young and in the beginning to get closer to Sador, because if this was further on into the future, and he was older and Sador was older and he had grown up around all kinds of things and maybe become more of a spy or more, he was this fresh face that is what was needed to get close into that. So like the big plan when you think of it, and to me, that's the mind-blowing thing. You're in the future, you're trying to think of what you can do in the past to influence things, but a key thing is that things have to look like you didn't change them. Because if they look like you didn't change them, then they would know that, and they would go, the explosion still had to happen at the end. Right? If the explosion, they need to still think that the thing is sealed up in there, but it's not. The fire truck scene, they needed to still think that was in there and that the fire truck, because if they had done something different, if they had done something where it wasn't still moving, remember the people back, oh, it's just a radio thing or something like that, it's still moving. If that type of little digital footprint, digital time thing, an email, a thing in the newspaper, then the people in the future scrape that up and go, oh, we missed that, and then you can do that. So he's trying to put these things together to make this work. To me, that's fun.
Okay, so John David Washington plays this character, and I think the character's
It's
name,
just called the protagonist.
It's just called the protagonist, kind of like Snow Crash, right?
Right.
Like he's Hiro protagonist. I think like his last
that's
name
his
is
last name.
protagonist.
And his first name was Hero.
Yes.
Spelled a little different, but he
Yes.
was going to be the hero.
And I think this is kind of like where I'm going. I think this is because I had this exact same experience watching another movie where like we got to a point in the movie there was something happening. I was going to lean over and ask my wife what was happening, and I just thought I don't care, and like I just kept watching it. And this movie, the first time I watched it, it lost me when they were rappelling into that lady's
Up into
condo. Her like penthouse or whatever.
Right, so bungee cords go down. This was a reverse bungee cord.
Yes.
Going up again, kind of playing with that.
And like
Right,
that.
so
was,
like why are we doing this? Why
Yeah.
are we here? How is this moving the plot along?
And I was just like, I don't care anymore. And I think the reason why is like you go see a James Bond movie and you can't really escape the context of seeing a James Bond movie on Earth, right? Like everybody knows who James Bond is. He's like a badass secret agent. Like that's who he is. Like
Christopher Nolan loves James Bond
yes,
movies.
and like he drinks a lot, and like he's a womanizer, and like he's hyper violent, and if you mess with him, he's gonna kill you real hard. Like that's who he is, right?
He's
cool,
quippy.
suave.
He wears nice suits.
He's got he wears cool suits, drives cool cars.
Timing with some little comedic quip is
Like he'll drop the one-liner here and there. Like that's who James Bond is, right? Like I don't know who the protagonist is. Clearly, like when you first meet him, it's like okay, like he's some kind of secret agent.
He was like, that's all we knew about him. He was some CIA operative who essentially died, right? Who essentially tried to kill himself and swallowed that pill,
right,
in the opening scene. And for what, right? His mission was to get that essentially a James Bond kind of lookalike guy, right? Mm-hmm. I think he was just referred as the nice dressed man or something like that.
Yeah.
Who was up in the booth in the opera house. That was the mission, to get that out of there. Get him out of there. And it turns out that during that going on, there was a third level of other people there, which we later find out are from Sador's group.
Right.
To try to come in, because they knew that here was an intersection of, originally called plutonium-241, but it's really just a piece of the device. And now I just forgot the name of the device, but anyway, it's just a piece of the puzzle, which is what the thing was about, right?
Sure. But I think this is my problem, and I think like you are having a good time latching onto the plot, and I am not having any attachment to the characters, and this is preventing me from latching on to the plot.
So, did you get attached to the ideas or to the physics or to, like, there's some Oppenheimer references in here. You know, Oppenheimer definitely, the movie, Oppenheimer, Nolan's movie, definitely explored that sort of anxiety of, like, could this be the end of the world? Could this be, you know, there's a non-0% chance that pushing this button might end it all, right? And so I don't think they try to do a job explaining how this reverse entropy thing works. It's just one of those, just it works, just go with it. Like, to me, that's fun, entertaining stuff to try to latch on and watch for clues if you're not bonding with the characters. But while I was doing that a second and a third time, I was now bonding with the characters. I was now getting to know them better. I was now seeing that in that opening opera scene, saving all the people was not part of their mission. Right? He sees these bombs and he's like, I'm going to go save those people. That's not our mission. Well, it is now, right? And so he's kind of a good person, right?
I do think, particularly in that first scene where, like, more than like any Christopher Nolan movie I can think of, you really get thrown into the deep end of the pool.
Right.
He doesn't check with you if you know how to swim.
Right.
Like, way more than he ever has. Because more than anything else, like, the movie just started, you're like, I'm pretty sure maybe that guy's the lead. And then like, just like immediately cover his face in like a nondescript thing that there are other people who look like that. Who are, you know, wearing similar face coverings.
So remember opening of Dark Knight where everyone's wearing the mask. One of the things that I think he learned from that was you couldn't tell who anyone was.
But it didn't matter, because in the context of a Batman movie, you know that means the Joker, and these guys are bad. They're bad guys. They're going to do a bad thing, and this is all leading to the Joker somehow.
So there's one scene where,
because you're from Earth,
where there's four of our good guys going into the opera scene, and the protagonist is one of them, and all their masks are like, they got like they're steamed up, you know, from heavy breathing, and his mask is clear, the lighting is clear, and in that moment you can see it, like he was trying to focus us on, here's our guy, keep watching him, you know, and then he goes up there and now he's getting there, and then he runs in and he's all athletic and he slides and grabs the stuff. I think it was
true, but like it's just like very difficult for me to like okay, like this is who we're following.
I'm trying to explain why I love this movie, and it's certainly, you just have to say it's not for everyone. And so that does a great movie mean it has to be for everyone?
No.
I don't think it has to do, like, I really want you to love this movie more, because I feel like you've missed something. I feel like you have missed, and I think I
got way more in the second time.
I think all it is I think the layers, when you think of the complexity of shooting the layers like that. And so let's explore that a little bit. If you're going for this kind of cinema complexity and you have to shoot it like that, how you have to think like that, you're going to miss it on the first time and the second time. And now that I watch it, you know, multiple times, and you're seeing, man, he needed to have this guy over here essentially running backwards in the scene. Or when he first sees the bullets and he's got like the glove on and he drops the bullet, when the bullet flies up into her hand, the scene was obvious that they filmed it in reverse and she dropped it and it went that. But like, even her lips of saying the word the right way, she had to like learn how to say it backwards. And so like all those little details, certainly I don't think anyone expects them to pick up on the first. I just hope that on the first viewing, you get sort of sucked into the story is really cool, and I want to keep learning about it. And so that's what I think is the thing, is the complexity that he put in there, an appreciation of that. I guess that's how I would say it. And because I think it's cool, because I think it's ingenious at times. I think it's historic. I think it's historic in terms of he's using actual, you know, historical figures like Oppenheimer and Maxwell and Planck's constant and physics and entropy, and trying, you know, he does all this research. You know, the Tenet comes from what's called a Seder square it's found, like, the earliest finding of a Seder square is like 69 AD or something like that, and it's never in the movie the whole time. It's never in the movie, and like I'll get it wrong, but I think it's like Seder, opera, Arepo, Tenet. Those are the words spelled forward and backward make a 5x5 square, and it all works. It's a word puzzle. It's an ancient word puzzle, and that's why all those other words are kind of in there. So, and then Tenet is, can be 10 minutes. The final scene was 10 minutes going forward and going backward.
Oh, okay.
All at the same time. I mean, there's lots of tens and lots of anagrams, lots of stuff like that. So you didn't know anything about the movie going in. You see it, and so I'm just saying for our audience, you don't know anything about the movie. You go in, you see it, and you're like, man, there was some cool stuff for me. Stuff that, like, I wanted to learn more. I wanted to see it again. I wanted to appreciate the time and effort that Nolan and the crews and everyone needed to put that thing together.
It's a big swing, and I really admire that. So there are other things I was noticing when I was looking up stuff about this movie, just in sort of like a broad cultural landscape. I kept seeing things about how, like, people don't like this movie. I didn't find anything to back that up at all. Like, just as like a group, humans don't like this movie. That's not true at all. Just something I wanted to get out of the way. Rotten Tomatoes, IMDb score, cinema score, or whatever that's called. Like I checked them all. They were all like above average. They weren't like all tens or anything, but like generally people like this movie. I think it's a movie that like didn't sell a lot of tickets because of circumstances at the time of its release. Like his super intense insistence that we all like go see it in the theater.
Right.
In a time when I didn't want to do that at all. I was like, stop telling me what to do, Chris. I guess I didn't really find the movie particularly challenging. Like, I think this is a very challenging movie for Christopher Nolan as a filmmaker. Even the first time when I watched it, the first time they go through the airport scene, I was like, well, that's just the protagonist from coming through the other way. Like, I was like, yeah, like, I get it. I see what's happening here. Like, I just...
but you didn't know why.
Yeah, and like I think that was because like I wasn't like excited about like that mystery. So like I think from like a storytelling standpoint, like he wasn't pulling me in that way. Even in the Star Wars sequel trilogy, I'm not super excited generally about where they're going in the plot, but I mostly like those characters. Right. Like somehow, even though for me, like, it's kind of a big mess,
right,
I connect with, like, the three main leads, and I want them to win, even though, like, ultimately, I find the entire thing very unsatisfying.
Yeah, so in terms of characters to connect with, there's just a protagonist. There's Neil, who we don't really know the history of, but and I don't think Nolan ever acknowledges that it could be that little boy, but it's probably that little boy.
I thought that was the intention.
Right, and that. So then the female character, and then the mean guy, Seder. I can see not connecting with the last two, but I certainly thought Neil, like as soon as he came in, and the line about he'll have a Diet Coke. Mm-hmm. And he's like, well, I'll just take a club soda, and she's like, no, you won't. Yeah. I don't know how to answer that in terms of how to make that more
I don't think it's your job.
Right.
So I just kind of.
But you didn't connect.
I think this is where like the movie falls short a little bit, and I think this is why for me.
I thought, like, I watched that opening scene also because of the soundtrack. Mm. That's Jorgensen.
Oh yeah, there's some really cool music.
Really cool music in there, and Nolan has worked with.
It's the bomb.
Yeah,
that guy.
He did all kinds of stuff. What's his name? Hans Zimmer. Okay, we forget it. We'll put it on the screen.
Short. Yeah, we'll put it on the screen. Here's a list of his collected works now.
The opening scene, the first person that dies is the conductor, like the composer. Like I got a new composer, and it's all, and like that music. So right after I saw it, I must have listened to the soundtrack for forever. I mean, I had it on in the background. there's stuff that goes kind of forward and backward. There's that heart pumping thing when the fire truck comes down in. But that opening scene, just like, I loved it. I loved the action, and right away I wanted to find out more about that guy.
Just generally, I found like a lot of the characters very flat. Like the only woman in the movie, I didn't really connect with her at all. She kind of reminds me of the character that plays opposite Tom Cruise in Mission Impossible 2, and Anthony Hopkins is like, you should get that woman to do the thing with the bad guy. And Tom Cruise is like, she doesn't have any training for that. It's like, what? To lie to a man and go to bed with him? She's a woman. She has all the training she needs. And Tom Cruise is like, It is like a similar kind of secret agent.
It's definitely a secret agent kind of movie.
Sort of movie.
I mean,
I thought like the backwards gunshots worked really well. I thought that was like a really neat effect. I did not think the backwards fighting was particularly interesting. And at times, I thought particularly, I guess, the fight at the airport looked kind of silly. Like that one didn't quite work for me.
I mean, I think it's hard.
Yeah, sure.
He tried to film it, but we don't film stuff backwards. We film stuff forwards.
And run it backwards.
And so everything that we had to do was forwards. And so I kind of agree. Kudos for trying. So I love the effect as well. The why it works is something that, like, physically I don't quite get. Like, so here's this wall, and the bullets have already been shot into the wall. You still have to take the gun, and you still have to will it. You still have to think it to make it happen. That goes into a whole big kind of time thing for me, which is sort of tough to just... And so I don't spend too much time worrying about that one, because that one's a little too tough.
Anything that just like looks cool and just kind of works,
right.
It's like fine, you just kind of go with it, right? Like, you don't want to spend too much time thinking about a lightsaber. Like right. Wouldn't a lightsaber be like really hot?
Wouldn't we just always cut through stuff?
Like,
why does it resist? Why can't they cut through a big door?
Wouldn't it be like really heavy to like wield a lightsaber? Or like it'd be hard to hold?
I think if it's light, it's light. Anyway, that's why we don't.
And that's the thing.
I
don't care.
And lasers, you can't see lasers, right? They just
go
boom.
That's true.
The big finale combat scene, right? A lot of that stuff was done, like the two teams had their watches synchronized, right. And they were trying to blow up buildings at the same time, so that the future wouldn't know that they couldn't tell who did it.
Right.
The line that really gets me is the red team goes forward through the battle, right? And then debriefs the blue team,
right,
on their way back. The blue team fights the battle in reverse, right? Gets at the end, and now picture the red team again before the battle. The red team's brief says this briefing has the insights of the blue team. So where does that thought experiment end? Right? Red team goes through, tells the blue team everything that they saw. Blue team goes through, right, meeting up with the red team as they were there, and then tells the red team again how everything went, and then they go through again. It just, again, I think that's really cool. I think that's and that's where that whole temporal pincer and the idea of a pincer movement, and just a quick military thing, is when you do a pincer movement, you're trying to take moves away from the enemy. So you've got a blocking force here, rather than just hitting somebody straight on where they could go back, left, or right, or something like that. You're purposely blocking them to the right, pushing them this way, maybe because you're trying to push them back, or you're taking a bit of control away from them.
Sure.
That's the point of having the two forces that have coordinated. And so we've all just done that geographically, God's eye view, looking down at a map, kind of two-dimensional battlefield, or with a plane, three-dimensional, or up into space. Now add a fourth dimension of time, and you're trying to confine them to what they can do in a certain amount of time based on time and things that you've seen. I just love that idea. I love that concept. And then at the end, the whole line of the movie is this whole thing, this whole Tenet operation is a giant pincer movement. Who's yours? Right? So he's the one who's going to come. So I guess here's the way I think about it. He gets older. He thinks up this whole, okay, well, how are we going to do this? okay, well, we got to get to me.
I think by the end he knows. I think he knows exactly, or he has a pretty good idea what he's gonna do. But like,
Oh yes, but he hasn't done it yet.
yeah,
yes.
like I just have to do it. I just have to do it.
Right.
So one of the things I was thinking about, and this is like very trivial, at the end everybody's putting on like their red and their blue patches.
Uh-huh.
Like they know who's going backwards and forwards. Like I don't feel like it's like visually apparent to the audience, like when you're watching them actually out on the field. Like who has the little red and blue thing on their shoulders?
I think you can. I mean,
maybe you can see them. I don't know. Like I totally don't remember.
I mean,
like,
there's some, I'll call them epic shots, where I'm sure that they had people all moving forward, but then did reverse camera stuff and overlays. I don't know how they did it, but you know, in a close-in battle scene, people are moving backwards and forwards at the same time, and the enemy too.
right.
And the enemy doesn't wear bands, but you just see some things going, you know, forward and backward.
Yeah, and like it's like, but I can see like somebody's going forward and somebody's going backward. Like it was just like clear. I don't know. I just wasn't sure.
And the red blue thing starts off at the opening
Right.
of the whole movie.
Yeah, and I know it's like a color motif that kind of like runs through the movie. I didn't find the movie particularly confusing.
You say that, but at the same time, I think you had that same thought of, well, what's going on? Oh, I don't even care.
Because I wasn't invested.
Right, because you weren't invested. So you're not finding it confusing when it was meant to be confusing.
Especially interesting.
Yes. So was your opera scene the favorite scene?
No, I think I like the vault. I think I enjoyed
the first one or the last one?
Do they go back to the vault?
They do.
Is
when
the vault at the airport?
The vault at the airport. So when they crash the plane in.
Right. I'm just gonna let him in. He can come sit with us. Dog boss. You're gonna come sit.
Not there.
Here, Charlie. You sit here. You sit here. Here. No. Here. Not on me. Up. Up here. Good boy. Okay. Everybody, please welcome Charlie to the stage. So, one of the things I worry about when I'm writing something, I'm trying to come up with new ideas, is that I'm not taking all my favorite things and just because those are all my favorite things and I want to create something out of all my favorite things. I call it an art project. Like, or it's not even art, it's more like one of those things in like the critical thinking class where like your teacher gives you like 5 pieces of paper, 10 feet of tape, and like 11 pencils, and you have to build a bridge
that
can support a shot put, and you roll the shot put between 2 desks. One of the things that like I try very hard not to do, and just work on like telling like a fundamentally solid and easy to understand. Well, it doesn't have to be easy to understand. I don't mean that you have to dumb it down, but I think it's just important not to just take out all your toys and just play. I think that's like why when you look at Christopher Nolan's all of his movies, I kind of think the ones that I like best are because they're mostly all adaptations, right? Except for
Inception
and Inception. Right.
And his first one. I haven't Memento. I haven't actually seen that.
Oh, it's really good. Oh, you're gonna love it. And that one, boy, like talk about characters you can connect with. Yeah, and I think like it's true for a lot of filmmakers, you know, like Spielberg adapting Jaws or whatever it is, you know, Hitchcock adapting Psycho. Because it's easy to, or it's much easier to take another finished work and then like adapt it for your medium and see like where all the cracks are and where the changes are necessary in the scope of adaptation. And sometimes I think with your own work, it's really hard to see the cracks. And I think it's also like really hard to maybe not just like play with your toys. Most of the movie, I guess, is kind of like what is the understanding of one experiencing time backwards. It's kind of like the big thing, and then it becomes about this algorithm, and that I think as a plot device is also just something that's hard for me to get on board with. Like the only place to hide the algorithm is the past, and it's like, well, if it's that dangerous, like then like maybe like don't hide it in the past, maybe just like destroy it. Like,
well, the future already had it.
Right. Then like, but like if I hide it in the past, like just by definition, if I hide something, it can be found, and like if I can just keep sending people into the sausage machine to go backwards in time and just look for the algorithm.
Right, and so their goal was to hide this in the past where no one would find it because they didn't think it was. They thought it was sealed in that explosion.
Right.
That was the goal of the movie.
Right.
The goal of the movie was to make the future think that the algorithm, which only one person understands, put it in here, and then apparently she killed herself. And now this thing is the only place that it exists anymore. Then put it in an explosion that can never be, like, we know where it is, but it got exploded, and so, but it really didn't, because we secretly had 3 other people around there pull it out that knew what was going on.
And obviously it's a totally different kind of movie. Like, I go back to, like, the original Star Wars for, like, my example of, like, good fundamental storytelling, right? Like, the Death Star is pretty much there, like, pretty much the entire movie.
Right.
Like, maybe it takes a little while for it to show up. But even, like, the threat of the Death Star, even the idea that, like, it's going to destroy the Rebel base comes up fairly late in the movie. So, like, that's fine. But, like, you already know that this threat exists. And I feel like you don't find out about the algorithm for a while.
Right. One of Tenet's signature moves as an organization is knowledge divided. Right?
Sure.
Nobody knows all the stuff, and
Yes. Compartmentalization.
and you're not supposed to ask, you're not supposed to, and so, like, we could have gotten all kinds of exposition with the First Lady doing the thing, with Michael Caine.
Yeah.
All
He
kinds
just
of
has that one exposition dump, and then he disappears from the movie, right?
Right,
He
that-
just
that-
never
that-
shows up again.
But he looked good.
Yeah. Well, I love Michael Caine. You can't go wrong with Michael.
So that idea of, I can't give you all the information at once. That's I think that feeds into the idea.
I think you can't go wrong with the cast in this movie. I'm not familiar with Elizabeth Debicki outside of this movie. She's really good. I don't know if I'd ever seen John David Washington in anything. Also quite good. Robert Pattinson is always good. Sprinkle and Michael Caine is lovely. Kenneth Branagh is always good, regardless of whether he's playing a man with only like 40% of his body and he's in a steampunk wheelchair. It doesn't matter. I love Kenneth Branagh. He's fantastic. You can't go wrong with the score. I think we agree there.
Awesome.
You can't go wrong with cinematography. Good cinematography.
So many practical shots. Like they took a real old 747 and really rammed it into a set and had real cars tumbling underneath it, while at the same time filming stuff that was going to be used both forwards and backwards. Because that's kind of a critical midpoint of the storytelling there.
Sound editing, good. Sound mixing, not so good. There's even this one take, I can't remember what the line is. Robert Pattinson says something, and I just can't hear him. Like, the dynamic range of the recording of his voice is either bad or like just nobody bothered to mix it. Nobody bothered to bring him in and like do like an ADR session. I know Christopher Nolan hates ADR.
Yeah.
I don't like doing ADR either. You can ask the people in my movie who had to do ADR. They didn't like it. Better technology came along and we threw most of it in the trash because it's just not great. So I'm with him. But if I just can't understand,
Like he would say, it doesn't matter.
of course, yes. Like I know.
I think he would say
That would be ideal if your movie was so visually clear and easy to understand. So I guess that's something I should say. And maybe this is more of a directing situation where like I'm very behind like the cinematography and the look and stuff. And I do think there are bits where like I'm just not exactly sure where somebody is. And that's also something I think that comes up in editing. I think Christopher Nolan does not make shot lists. And whenever I hear some music, I don't need shot lists. I have to figure it out on the day and understand. It's like, oh, cool. So you're just unprepared. And like everybody just has to like figure it out and like me in a panic. And like that can work. And like that's fine. Like obviously he makes it work all the time. They got all that stuff in Insomnia, which I also love, which is also an adaptation of another film of the same name.
Nolan's very globalism, environmentalism, kind of thing like that. And so, the end of the world motif here, and is this has become a big enough problem in the future that they are now doing all kinds of things to try to stop prevent it.
It's really good, like It's like allegory for like environmentalism,
Right.
for like global warming and such. Yeah, I think it works really well. Like I think thematically, it works really well as like a general story.
So as a thought experiment, what would we need to hear right now from the future to get us to stop doing what we're doing right now? Would we, like, I know, speaking as a person that works with a bunch of students, they don't believe anything. You tell them, you know,
Sure.
like what's this video that was just AI generated, you know, stuff. And so think about what would you really need to do to make the kind of hard, painful, both economic and the way we live and like that. And I think I think there's a line in there that says, you know, eventually the heat just becomes too much. And it's not only like the actual physical heat of the earth warming up, but just political heat, economic heat. You know, something had to be done. You know, one of the things that they think can be done is if they just annihilate everyone in the past, because that's the doomsday.
Yes, the grandfather paradox.
Part of them says that they won't exist, but there's certainly a theory that says it all exists, you know, everything all at once kind of thing. And that,
Sure.
you know, you can go back in time and mess with things, and your future time had a relationship but wasn't dependent on that. So I think that overarching kind of environmental lesson is a good one, and you know, and it's not in your face. You know? But he was trying to send a message.
Yeah,
Right.
I think you could make a very compelling, and I think we have made a very compelling argument that this movie is about environmentalism or global warming, whatever sort of label you want to. But that's what it's allegory for.
Right.
I don't really think of him as like the allegory guy, because usually he just does. It usually kind of means what it says.
I mean, Oppenheimer had lots of political,
but it's very literal, right? Like it's not like like allegory for something we're experiencing now. They're just like this is gonna be a thing forever, and like don't mess it up.
Right.
Maybe I liked Tenet more the second time I saw it, but I am not entirely convinced, and I would say that this probably ranks the lowest for me in my Christopher Nolan film experience. But I liked it more the second time I saw it. So maybe one day in the future, the more times I see it, I'll like it. When I've seen it 10 times, and then
sent yourself a message back.
yes,
Saying that
and
you gotta just see this.
I have to go into the future to like the movie
Even
until I get to the point where I like it as much as I like Inception or whatever.
sounds good.
Yeah.
Okay, I feel like we've talked about
I
this
think so, too.
enough.